So, welcome. My name is Robin, or Robin1XP, and I'm recording this video to show off my new world building extension for Fantasy Grounds. I'm currently in the 5th edition rule set. I haven't fully tested it, but this should work in CoreRPG also. And then later on, I will look into making it work in other rule sets. I'm not familiar with a lot of rule sets, but I'm sure I could figure out like Pathfinder and some of the other like more popular ones. So right now, I've just loaded into like a test campaign and just loaded this one extension, and I'll just show it off. And if you look on the sidebar, let me close this one. In the world category, there's new library windows, one for factions and one for personalities. And I'm going to show off what these new record types do. So we'll start with factions. So in the factions library window, you can create a new faction and you can name it whatever you want. So for today, we'll just be doing dumb, silly sample things. So we'll just call this faction some criminal minds, right? And we're gonna call them, type them as a criminal faction. And I'm gonna right here demonstrate if you have more than one faction in here. Let's say this is like a raiding clan, and we, whoops, and we call it, type it as a clan. Now that we have one clan type and one criminal type faction, if we use this type filter in the factions window, we can sort by clans and criminals, and any other types you add to your factions will be filterable. You can fill in the information of whoever leads your factions, so we'll call this Sir Darkmire, right? And if you had, for example, an NPC stat block for that character, just do that real quick. You could then also link this here, drop a little link for the leader. You can also do the same for locations, which are built into 5th edition, I believe, also CoreRPG. So if we had a location for the base of the criminal minds, and we had, you know, information for that base or whatever here in that entry, we could also link that there. So we can link to their location entries, their NPC stat blocks, and we could write whatever kind of description we want, including formatted text if you so wanted, right? And then GM notes. I could put my GM notes here and blah blah blah, and then when this record is locked and then shared, the players have access to this but not GM notes. Okay, you can also attach images from your assets library, so I'll just demonstrate that here, right? This is from an old campaign I ran. And then we get the thumbnail, and clicking the thumbnail brings us back to the pictures tab. And then on the relations tab here for this faction, I can add a line here, and let's say there's a player in my campaign playing a character named Johnny, and Johnny's relationship to this criminal minds faction is, you know, favorable. We could denote that here, or if they became enemies, we can denote that here, just as like a note to ourselves while we're GMing these campaigns. We can remember how this faction interacts with player characters in our campaign. So that's the kind of overview for our faction records. So next I will show off our personality records. They work very similarly. So we'll open the personality libraries. We'll create two really quick, two new personalities. We'll call this one Sir Darkmire, who's the leader of our Criminal Minds faction that we made earlier, which I'll just go ahead and reopen that faction back up. Sir Darkmeyer, right? This was his stat block. Just gonna denote that. And next I also want to link to his personality. I need to fix that. So anyways, he is a criminal leader. And then over here we'll make a personality for another NPC like Rosie. And we'll say she is a princess. Okay. And then you'll see in our personalities library, we can now filter by these two types, criminal leaders and princesses. And you could come up with whatever type categories you want. You can fill out all this information for whatever you want to track for them. Residents, again, you can drop other links here. So we could link the Criminal Minds base location. And again, we can link his stat block, which I closed, but here's his stat block. So we'll link Sir Darkmeyer's stat block. And now those things are easily accessible from his personality. But the reason I made these personality records is so I can list his personality traits, like he's evil and cruel. And I could put a quirk that he always smiles when he's scared. And a flaw that he really likes. Or he's scared of kittens, right? And he's motivated by things. He wants to steal something from Rosie. And roleplay notes we can use however we want. I like to put in here if I'm affecting a certain type of voice for them, or just anything like that. So I'll put that I want his voice to be very gruff or whatever. And I could again post a description here with all of the regular formatted fields that you can in story entries. So you could put whatever you wanted. And same for the GM notes. And again, we have picture category for our personalities. So we can just give Sir Darkmeyer a picture if we so wish. And then again, we also have relations. So we'll say he obviously is enemies with Rosie, for example. And once this sheet is locked, this is how it all kind of looks. And yeah, that's kind of the overview of this extension. It doesn't, I mean, maybe it doesn't seem like a lot, but for me, it's a lot. It took me a while to put this all together, and I really wanted it to help me track player character relationships with factions and NPCs and things like that, and be able to link them to locations and link them to stat blocks. So thank you so much for checking this out. Have a great day.